And so welcome into the sanctuary, everybody. It's a delight to be with you. Imagine it's Sunday again, so quickly. And here we are, moving ahead and going forward with the unfolding of our spiritual advancement. And we're doing that as one, alone, together. And that's so important. I'm amazed every time I look out and I see you all there. It amazes me because I think, how neat is this? These people get it. We're getting it. That our spiritual unfoldment is the most essential and most important thing that we could be consciously engaged in and invested in. It's the kind of portfolio that we get to take with us when we go over into the next experience. The other will have to stay behind. And I'm knowing that each and every one of us, when we come here, will come here and leave differently for having been together in a spiritual family, in a sangha, in a gathering of this nature, because of the wonderful energy that pervades. And having said that, today we're looking at this thing called anger. And I'm knowing that there's not a person in this room that doesn't have some experience with that. And when you go to the dictionary, it will describe anger as a very strong and powerful response, and sometimes violent response, to confrontation or mistreatment or loss or whatever. And that's the dictionary's definition of it. But my definition of anger is simply, it's a messenger. It's an emotion, and it's a messenger. It comes to me because it has something to share with me. It has something to call me to. It has an opportunity in it for me to grow as a result of. And as such, it is neutral energy. It's only when I respond to it, or react to it, or relate to it, that makes it good, bad, or indifferent. So that when anger comes, it's for a spiritual unfolding soul to look at and say, that's interesting, because I thought I was over this. Because that's what we think when we're on a spiritual path. We think we're over everything because we've done a certain amount of practices and so on and so forth, that's it, finished and done. No. All of it stays with us for as long as we're on the plane, and comes and visits us regularly to make sure that we're awake still and we haven't fallen unconscious. And so with anger, it's such a common experience in our lives. We've been used to that since we were knee-high to a grasshopper, anger. You see, isn't it interesting? When we were children, we got away with being, we could be depressed, or we could be a little irritated, or we could be a little blue, or we could be, a little fussy and so on. But we were never allowed to be angry. We were not allowed to be angry. For some reason or another, that was verboten. So we never learned to cope and handle anger. We just didn't learn good skills as far as anger management is concerned. We were not given an opportunity to express our anger. When I'm out in the store and I see a kid having a tantrum and they're kicking up their heels and they're screaming and they're shouting and the parents are embarrassed and they want to stop them and put their hands over their mouths and drag them, I say, have at it. Go for it. Really give yourself a chance to scream and holler and shout and bawl, because the day will come when you won't be able to do that anymore. So while you can, have at it. That's what I do to the little ones when the parents are not listening. No, that's not quite true. I just look at the parents and I say, that's good. They're just getting it all out. We don't mind. As the other people move away. But we would have been the better for it if we had been allowed to do that as little ones. So there are three responses to anger. You either express it, or you repress it, or you control it. There are the three responses. And explosive anger, we all know, is not a very holy and wholesome thing to observe, especially if you're the brunt of it. It can be quite disconcerting. And repressed anger will just show up in a myriad of other ways and find other targets. And the mildest form of that, of course, is passive aggression. That's the mildest form of repressed anger. But understand this, anger is very, very real. It's a very real thing. And it's not just a mental thing, it's a physical thing. It's very physical. It's real in your mind, and it's real in your body, and it's real in your emotions. And it has its effect. I mean, it messes up the mind. Forget logic, forget intelligence, forget reason, forget anything. It's not going to happen when you're in a bout of anger. Your emotions are rolling all over the place in anger. And your body, you just know your body is just flexed and ready for the fight position. Clenched. And so, if we are to be the wonderful truth students that we choose to be and want to be, we need to get our anger under our control once and for all. And if some of us are still playing in the field of anger, perhaps today is the day when we can come to some decision to say, okay, it's time now. I need to get a grip here. And so where does all this anger come from? It comes from the land of personality and ego. It comes from the stimulus and the responses in an outer world. It comes from the arena of illusion. It comes from the shadowed self. And the shadowed self is something that you and I need to be able to face and look at and see that it's okay, and face it and embrace it. And the shadowed self are all of those lurky little, sneaky little, naughty little things that really we kind of wouldn't mind engaging ourselves in. Mostly unconscious, there's that element in every single one of us. Running right down the middle of us all, there's a great streak. And one of those streaks is a Darth Vader streak, and the other is a Yoda streak, and we can go either way. Equal opportunity, really. Every saint and every sinner, just the same. Just the same. Remember, every saint has had a past, and every sinner has a future. And so we have to watch out for that and understand once and for all the seminal thing that I was talking about last week. Nobody is responsible for the management of your spirit or your soul other than yourself. You are the manager of your spirit, you are the manager of your soul, and that's your only job on this plane, to manage your spirit and to manage your soul, and that is to manage the power within you and around you. You see, you can get very impressed with yourself about knowing so many things. Oh, all the spiritual things I know, and all the spiritual teachings I can recite, and all the spiritual places I have been, and so on and so on and so on. It amounts to nothing. Now, what really is important is, how have I learned to manage what I know? That's what's important. How have I learned to manage what I have learned? Am I in charge? Am I in control? Remember, we do not give our psychic power away to anybody, any person, any place, or anything. We are very careful about whom we are going to hand over the management of our spirits to. Because essentially, I'm the one that's the senior counselor to myself that manages my spirit. But until I can get there personally, I have to be very, very, very careful to whom I allow to help and assist me to manage my soul. Great is the power of spirit within each and every single one of us, and is to be used wisely and well. So in the arena of emotions, and in particular anger, if you and I are constantly in and out of states of anger, we're not integrated enough to be able to manage our spirits. We're just not there yet. And that's what today is about, being able to integrate ourselves, gather up the fragments, and unify the fragments of our aspects of being so that we can and are a worthy manager of our souls. And again, we have to understand that I am not my personality. If I want to be living and moving and having my being in my essential self, I must step aside from my personal self, my small self, my ego self. Now, I must be in control of that and not that in control of me. And to do that, I have to understand how it all works, So every time I'm upset and every time I get annoyed and irritated and so on and so forth, well, that's not coming from my essential self. I know that. It's coming from my personal self. Now, my personal self is very personal to me, but I must not take it personally. Very personal to me, but I must not take it personally. The truth of my being is my spirit, is the true essence of who I am, and it is I am. So I could walk into this room one Sunday and say, now I want us all to put ourselves away. Now I didn't say selves, I said selves with an S. And I did that once, so they thought I was talking about their cell phones. Now I want us all to put ourselves away. They're all going on. And so when we come into a place like this, into a spiritual gathering, what we're doing is putting our personal selves aside so that that immense and vast spirit of us can fully emerge and be open and receptive to whatever the inspiration is, so that I can handle and manage my life more gracefully, more beautifully, more truthfully, more healthily, more joyously, more peacefully, more contentedly. Because that's what I get to do. It's in my spiritual DNA to do that. But no, it's just all that busyment of the embodiment and all that helter and all that skelter of the outside world, and the very, very overactive egos in all of us that keeps the committee going all of the time, Your spirit is saying to you, now Moira, all you have to do is pick up the phone and talk to that person, talk to him or talk to her. Because you really want this relationship to be mended and fixed and healed. You enjoy that person in your life, and you really do want to go into that wonderful relationship you had before and even make it better. You know that. That's my true self talk. And then the ego is saying, no way, not going to happen. See, pride, not going to happen. They can make the first move. You see, we have done that to ourselves over and over and over again. We sabotage ourselves all the way. And going back to the archetypes, the 4 major archetypes, and every one of us are living from them. All of them belong to us to some degree or another. There's the victim. Oh, we like to play that role. The prostitute, we love playing that role, and it has nothing to do with sex. And then there's the wounded child, you see. You have your wounded child and so on. And then there's the saboteur. Now, the archetype of the prostitute simply means this. The prostitute appears any time I sell my self-worth and my self-esteem in order to be safe on this plane. That's the archetype. Anytime I sell my self-value, my self-worth, in order to be safe on this plane. And we've all done it, and we still do it at times. That's why we're called to thine own self be true. And when we are, we will not prostitute ourselves. And if we're still doing that, we need to look at that, because that kind of thing makes us very angry when we do it once too often. Something in us boils up, We're in a job we don't want to be in. We're in a relationship we don't want to be in. We're whatever. We don't want to be whatever. But still, we stay there because we think the devil you know is better than the devil you don't know. We were all raised with that too, that idea. Taking care of your spirit and taking care of your soul is your work. Consciousness is work. It's hard work. And it's ours to be engaged in. And nobody else is going to do it for us, you know. And you yourself are your essential teacher. You are your own master. You are your own guru. You are your own leader. And that's what we want us all to be. Leaders in our own lives. And that assist and support others to be leaders in their lives. And it's doable. So this week you and I are going to take on the challenge of looking at the anger aspect in our lives and see what kind of influence it has over us still. And there are many ways anger shows up. It can show up in sulkiness, in isolating ourselves, in separating ourselves, in sarcasm, in put-downs, in all kinds of ways. We don't have to blow up every time for people to see that we're angry or to know it ourselves. So what happens when I get angry? Here's what Thich Nhat Hanh says we ought to do. He says, understand that anger is an energy and it takes time for it to bubble up. It's going to take time for it to sizzle out. And you have to give it sizzle out time. You can't just snap your finger and it's gone. It doesn't work like that. Because remember, it's an organic thing too. You feel it in your body. Your mind will let go of it more quickly than your body will. So you give yourself a calming down and a cooling down time. But when anger begins to arise, before it becomes anything, you just recognize, I'm angry for some reason. And he says, you look at the anger. You say, I'm angry. That's interesting. I'm angry. What does that feel like? What does anger feel like in me just now? Well, it's kind of disquieting my mind. It's kind of getting my emotion upset. And it kind of feels in the body like hot heat. I can feel it. I can feel it. It's very palpable. And you just go on to describe what it is and how it's affecting you right now, mentally and physically and emotionally. And you look at it and you keep looking at it and you see if it has a color, a tone, a texture, whatever. You analyze it minutely. You put it under a microscope. And you say, that's interesting, because that's where I am just now and I'm feeling this just now. And you stay with that, but you never go to the reason, the cause of your anger. You don't look at the cause or the reason of your anger, because that's going to make you more angry. You just stay with anger, looking at it, analyzing it, seeing how it's affecting just you personally, right here, right now. And when you've done enough of that, start consciously breathing. Consciously breathing in peace and out anger. In peace and out anger. You become mindful. Mindful. You breathe in peace and you breathe out anger. And you become mindful. Mindful. You're in charge. You're taking control. You're controlling it. It is not a negative. It is a positive. And as you become mindful and as you move through the exercise, at the end of it, you'll look at it and you'll see, what was the message in this for me? What was the opportunity in this for me? And you will get some insight into what it is. If we could just do that. I'm not saying that you and I, now we've heard this, are going to go straight away and do this all the time, every time we're angry. We're not. Because it's going to be a habit that will take us time to form. But I'll tell you, we'll be aware of it. We'll be aware, well, there's another way to handle this. And if you do get angry and you blow it, just say, well, there you go, I blew it. Okay. I'll endeavor to put into practice the peaceful response to anger, the breathing response to anger. And eventually I'll get it. Eventually I will get it. And we will. It works. And understand that the only one that engages in this field of emotions is the personality, is the ego. The soul is not. Your essential self is not at all engaged at that level at all. So the more that you and I are allowing our emotions to control us, the less we are in alignment with the essential core of our being and its essential essence. The more unconscious we are, in other words. The more we have forgotten and moved out of unity into separation. So this is the week for it, my dear ones, to take on anger in a way we've never taken it on before. And before anything happens, stop. Stop, because this is not going to be easy when you're out in public and so on, and somebody is affronting you or whatever and so on. You just have to stop. No response, no response, no response, no response. Just stop, 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 stop. And kind of go deaf, if you can. You know, just take yourself into, if you have to grit your teeth before you can start breathing consciously. And you'll find it's like an elixir, it's like magic. If you do not feed the anger in front of you, it cannot grow, it cannot expand, it has to fizzle out. Everybody who continues to be furious when there's no response begins to feel foolish and stops it. And after a while, when they know that that's what they can expect from you, they won't even bother wasting their energy. And speaking of energy, anger is a huge power drain. It usurps a lot of your power. So it is something that would behoove you and I getting on the inside of and in control of. And we can do it, but not of ourselves. Through the power, through the presence of the Spirit within us. We can do this together. Because remember, we were told, peace is what we're here for. An abundant life is what we're here for. Joy is what we're here for, and love is what we're here for. And none of those things has anything to do with anger. And anger gets us into all kinds of trouble. And then we're faced with the idea of apologies and forgiveness and so on. And you know how quick we are to forgive, yeah. You know how quick that comes from us. Better not to put ourselves in that position. So the power is with you. You have it. It is within you to do and to be and to have a very good life and a healthy life and a joy-filled life and a peace-filled life and a contented life. But you're not going to get it from a book or from out there anywhere or from a person. You can only get it from the fountains of it that are billowing inside of you, that's there already. You have to draw from this well. This is the well you have to draw from. And it doesn't matter what your habit has been, your behavior has been until now. It's over. Past is past. Today is a whole new day. And you can be a whole new person in it, and so can I. I really can. I can change. It's not true to say that, an old dog cannot learn new tricks. Rubbish. Rubbish. I can learn whatever I want to learn, whatever I'm open to learning. I can be whatever I want to be, and I can move into whatever I want to move into it, good, bad, or indifferent. And remember, whatever I'm moving into it because I have decided that that's the case. It's my choice and my decision, and nothing and no one else has either brought me down or brought me up. I've done it all myself. Well, I'm in the process now of pressing the button on the elevator that says going up. And I know that you are too. So remember, take yourselves on this week with me. Challenge yourself to be as less angry than ever before. in your entire life as you move through this week, because God dwells in you as you. So honor that God within you, love that God within you, respect that God within you, because that is the truth of your being, and so it is.